Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Building a Community panel, Lessons in Starting a Local Speedrunning Scene, presented by the Steel City Speedsters. Thank you. For some background on the Steel City Speedsters, yes. The Steel City Speedsters, they put me in charge of outreach. So my name is Threech. I am the outreach coordinator for SCS, which is what I'm going to call it from here on out.
I mean, I think we all just call it SCS out of convenience.
Thank God.
But hi, my name is Alara. I'm the production lead for all the events and one of the 3 founders.
Hello, I'm Deg. I am one of the 3 founders and head of organization and administration.
I need you all right now to know I am not one of the 3 founders. I am a straggler. Stump could not be with us because Stump is at MagFest doing everything, I just assume. But Stump was also one of the founding members of SCS, so we are very excited to be able to present to you some of the information that we've gathered. I'm talking authoritatively like it wasn't just these 2 who started it, but, you know, I got a lot of energy, so that's fine. And we'd like to talk to you, about sort of what we've done, what has happened over the last year, where we're going, and maybe if it's something that you're interested in getting into in your own scene. I know I recognize many of you from the Steel City Speedsters, I said it right, meetup earlier, but I'm hoping and seeing that there are some of you who are also not from SCS, which is exciting to me because I'm hoping you can take these lessons away and into your own communities to start thinking about what a community looks like for you when it comes to things like speedrunning enthusiasm.
As much as we love seeing our community here, supporting us and everything, the target audience is people not here local. We want to see our efforts replicated everywhere else.
Yeah. Like, we did this already. We did this.
I was wondering why we didn't go to the next slide yet.
Because I wanted people to have the experience of listening to us first and then get the visuals, all these lovely pictures. I'll do my best not to read off the slides, but basically it's a group of folks in Pittsburgh who are enthusiastic about speedrunning and watching speedrun marathons, holding them, for us specifically, raising money for charity. There's a lot of that. I like the way that it was described earlier today in the meetup, that it's sort of a feeder event for getting some experience into these larger marathon events, but that ours are still well attended. We've got a lot of enthusiastic people who are just excited to be united by 3 rivers, if you will. People, not Threech Rivers, no. But thank you from the Peanut Gallery. Like it says, we're in the midst of planning our 3rd marathon, which is wild, and we've already raised like a few $1,000s for charity just in the first year. So that is super duper exciting.
Some context, again, this is less than a year-old organization. Our first event was July?
July, yep.
And we're already on going to our 3rd event, and they've been in-person marathons. This isn't like you see a ton of marathons online and you see a bunch of online charity marathons. I've been a part of a lot of those online charity marathons. I've been staffing a lot of them. We raise more than a lot of those online charity marathons that have been going on for a long time, and we're doing it on location. So there's additional overhead. And I think part of it is just we just so happen to come in with a lot of experience that happened to be very relevant to these efforts. So we were able to hit the ground running because we're not coming into this fresh. Like, we're coming into this with years of running anime conventions, with years of doing theater production and similar kinds of things.
And I'm just here. I don't know what I'm doing.
And we couldn't do it without you.
Oh, thanks. So it's been really, really exciting to see the expertise that everyone brings. Some of what we're going to talk about today are maybe some of the pitfalls that all of you have fallen in, which is, how do I delegate? How do I make organizational decisions without trying to take everything on myself and plan and produce and do everything for every event? How do I get out of those traps? Because I assume I see many of the badges for volunteers. I know a lot of you really love to get involved in things, and I do too. We all have big volunteer energy, and sometimes we really need to learn how to take care of ourselves when it comes to planning things out. So, first we're going to talk about getting started. Also, if this goes without saying, but if either of you need to stop me from yapping and butt in, just do it. Just do it. So, for some thoughts. So obviously we're all from the Pittsburgh area. Alara and Dag, last AGDQ. What happened?
Go ahead, you start.
I saw someone walking by with a hoodie that said Sangawa, and for anyone who doesn't know, that is part of the local anime convention community. And I went, ooh, cool, are you local?
Sure am.
I wanted to do a local in-person thing with a whole bunch of speedrunners, because there's a lot of us in Pittsburgh.
Wow, that's wonderful. I do a lot of volunteer work for the local convention. We should talk. And then we talked.
And then 6 months later, there was a marathon going on.
I know. I think we have 125 people in the server as of like today, which is incredible. It started out with a group of 2, and then a group of 3, and then it has just sort of exponentially taken off from there. It's very exciting. We're getting folks involved. Our meetup earlier showed how many people are interested in volunteering opportunities, and that was really cool because we did happen to have a local experience. I think from the meetup. These 2 events are kind of conjoined. From the meetup today, a lot of what we heard was this is my 3rd AGDQ, or my 3rd GDQ, because it's the 3rd time it's been in Pittsburgh. So we've been really, really fortunate to have this here. So we already did have that kind of like step up in momentum as well. But I'm hoping that we can also use this as an opportunity for sort of networking, bringing folks into the SCS community so that you can meet people who are maybe local to you. We do have some other local regions like what do they call it? The DMV.
Yeah.
Like you go sit in line at the DMV, and maybe there's a speedrunner there. But also Delaware, Maryland, Virginia.
For the record, not Department of Motor Vehicles.
Yeah. Not yet. We'll get there. We're taking. Never mind. I'm gonna stop that sentence. Okay. So imagine a bus. So part of what we had to consider, in this inception is what unites us, what unites the Steel City Speedsters, and that is speedrunning and enthusiasm, and that has ballooned into charitable causes and putting on marathons. Along with that comes a lot of decisions that you need to make that are just very baseline items. So personally, I guess I could have mentioned this before when I said I didn't have experience. I actually do run a 501c7 social club where we put on an annual sort of marathon event over the course of a weekend. So there are decisions that come from this no matter, even if it's not speedrunning related. You might have some experience that is still relevant to the events that you'd like to put on or the community that you'd like to build. But you do have to think about things like, what does your decision-making structure look like? Because if you are just trying to run everything on your own, it's going to fail real fast because you're going to get burnout. We don't want that to happen. So start off by asking yourself, how am I going to make decision? There are some practical topics that you have to consider as well. Like, where am I going to store equipment? Good Lord, the closet in my attic it's a horror show, and I hate it. But it's fine. We'll get it out of there eventually. But you do have to think about, like, if I'm storing computers, where are those going to live? If I'm storing consoles, where are those going to live?
There's also a level of acknowledging what your limits are. And there is a sad reality of there's a lot of people out there with a lot of really good intentions. But you need to stop and ask, do I have the bandwidth to do this? Because people don't understand just how much work it is. It is hundreds of hours of work for every single event. And I'm not talking about day of. I'm talking into the lead up to events. There's so much planning. There's so much logistics that go into every single event. It's not just, I'm going to put on a thing and have my friends on the stream and we're going to raise $1 billion. It's so much work. Realistically, if we sat down and counted the amount of hours we poured into Steel City Speedsters and looked at how much money we've raised, we haven't made minimum wage.
No.
But that's fine because we do it for the love of the game.
We do it for the love of it. Like, our guiding star this entire time has been community. We wanted to build a local community. Not to the point where we're excluding people not local to the city.
And there are a lot of international people in the server.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had Canadian speedrunners at our events. We've had Japanese speedrunners at our events. It's just a matter of understanding, the goal was always build something, and it just so happened that the starting catalyst was that a lot of people were local.
And it helps as well to set at the beginning like a manageable goal. When we first started it, we said, we're just going to prove that we can do a marathon at TECO, the local anime convention.
No charity component.
No charity component, nothing fancy bells and whistles. It was can this happen? Proof of concept. Start small, build from there. And that helps with managing the amount of time that you're investing at the beginning so that you don't burn yourself out immediately on the first thing you're trying to do.
So when you're considering all of this, we're looking through, what are my strengths? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What might I need to phone in some help on? And so we're kind of simultaneously talking through the process of both starting an event itself, but also leading into the community. How do I find my people? When you have this sort of first nugget of a community, you have to sort of, like I said, set some ground lines of who is going to be responsible for this, who is going to be driving this. That's going to be a huge thing. You have to get people who are invested in continuing to grow and continuing to support folks in the community. Who's the main point of contact? So if you are doing any organizing, how are folks reaching out, that kind of thing. If you're leading into an event, who is going to be responsible for those logistical decisions, et cetera. Another thing to consider is how are you spreading the word? How are you recruiting folks? And we are going to get into that in a little bit. We do want to sort of sprinkle in some of the overarching advice that we've gathered here. Like when it comes to these sorts of leadership decisions, make sure you're playing to your strengths. You should understand about yourself what you're good at and what you can delegate to other people. And that's going to help you avoid getting burnt out, having hurt feelings. That's a huge thing that I think people don't take for granted because you think, oh, it's a business, we're professionals, we're adults, or whatever it looks like to you. But hurt feelings really do come out. And when you're in a stressful environment and decisions have to be made, you do kind of have to understand who you're working with and what they might be naturally inclined to and what they might not be the best person in that role for.
There's also, remember, everyone's a volunteer. Everyone's there because they want to be. So those hurt feelings can get a little smoothed out when you realize that person on the other side that you're mad at is just as passionate about it as you are. It's those passions that are butting the head, so.
At the end of the day, this is actually the perfect setting to talk about that because we're speedrunning. These are marathons, which means there's games lists. Someone's not going to get into the marathon. And it's not personal, it's just there were 8 people, they had to pick their favorites, and maybe there wasn't people there that were as passionate about Mario Kart for the Game Boy Advanced. Someone was going to get cut, and those decisions are hard. A lot of the times sometimes they can be objective, it was just too long to be practical. Sometimes they're just subjective and I went with the thing that was a little bit more fun for me. And you just don't take it as a personal offense. It's just submit it again next time. Ask for feedback. Why was this not taken? A lot of the times they'll try to elaborate and give you the reason. And it's that kind of thing of just, there are these constant decisions being made and someone has to make them.
And that leads us into our next point, which is about asking the hard questions. Now, if I were very creative, I would have started the Microsoft Teams call notification noise right at about this time just to build up your anxiety a little bit. But I muted Teams this week, and none of you can stop me. So, thank you. And you all should too. So when you're thinking about, again, community building, I love that corporate jargon. I love it. There are 4 phases of forming, storming, norming, and reforming. So when you're forming an organization, you just have to kind of figure out where are you starting. And when you're storming, that means all of the ideas are coming together and people are starting to butt heads, and that's where things get a little complicated. And you might have a little bit more of a cohesive idea, but you're not quite where you want to be. When you get to norming, that's when, okay, I've learned how to work with these people and I know where I need to go from here. You didn't think you were going to be getting a business lesson here, but let me tell you. And then reforming is looking at the processes that you've already established and then figuring out a way to make them better. So right now in this part of the presentation, we're kind of in that storming phase. We're like, how do we get to the hard part and how do we get past it? So you need to think about these really crunchy questions like, what is your organization's objective? Are you here to build a community? Are you here to support charitable causes? Are you looking for making an esports team or something like that where you want to start turning a profit, where you actually want to be thinking through, how you are making money, who's responsible for the money. There's a ton of difficult questions about money. My goodness.
Yes.
It's inevitable. To that end, what expenses will you incur? And we do advise you to really, really sit down and be real with yourself about that. Am I going to be pulling things out of my pocket in order to pay for things? Do I need to worry about event insurance, rentals, gas for rentals? If you have like a Google Workspace environment, do I need to start having like a mail subscription, something like that? And you really need to approach those kind of conversations with an open mind, because the minute that money comes into things, it makes things a lot more complicated, because money is a very sensitive subject. But when you can be honest and have those open conversations with folks, then it gets a lot easier to then plan for contingencies and then respond to them in the future. And we do advise, wherever it's possible, try not to pay for everything yourself, because you're just gonna overburden things. You can ask people.
We had a lot of money conversations early on after our first event when we started talking about potentially doing charity events, because things start getting dicey fast. And three of us sat down and we decided, let's talk it out now while we're still friends.
Yeah.
Because when money gets involved, it's really easy to stop being friends.
And you want to have how are we going to deal with it when we're not friends figured out while you're still friends, because then you're not just trying to screw over the other person.
Write a community prenup.
Prenup.
There it is. Thank you. Yes. Make your prenup while you still care about that person and not when you wish them harm. That's marriage advice from Threech. Thank you. So in addition to that, you want to think about how, so if you're building a community, you can do everything online, absolutely. If you're going to start incurring some expenses, again, this is just as part of asking yourself these hard questions, think about how you will account for those upfront costs. So obviously, all of us here at GDQ, we are used to the model of Twitch, streaming, subs and bits, etc., like that kind of, donations through different streaming platforms. So you can look at Twitch revenue. You can look at having an event fundraiser, not necessarily for a charity, but for your organization. So you can say, hey, we're going to put on, we're just going to do something simple, and if you want to come, it's $10 to come and pay, and all of the proceeds go to running, this basic community that we have formed, and here's our objectives, and this is why you should do this. I think deep pockets, I think this was if you're just independently wealthy, go off. I mean, have a great time. But
if you're independently wealthy, come talk to me.
Come talk
I would
to
love
Laura.
to maybe have you take me out for dinner.
An important takeaway on the deep pockets is actually have deep pockets. Don't go into debt for something. Don't throw away money just on a venture. Make sure that you are being responsible with your own money as well as the organization's money.
yeah. If you can find a partnership or a sponsorship, we'll go into this in a little bit more detail when we talk about networking and outreach, but that is a great opportunity for you to really just ask people, like, hey, local game shop, I know that you have this space available. I think that would be a great opportunity for us to get together and have this LAN party or something like that. You don't have to try to figure out how to make the space in your house work when it is a 1,300 square foot house that has a living room that's about this big, and you can't fit more than 6 people in it. It's fine. They've both been to my house. They know. And your last option there is marrying rich.
Any takers?
Anyone? No?
Oh. It was worth trying.
Yeah, I know. I threw that in there just as like a hopeful. I don't know. You never know. You never know. I don't know who comes to these panels.
No, so a little bit of spoilers for when we talk about it later on, but we did go with the partnership and partnership route of things. It's how we managed to do 2 in-person events. We basically approached the local anime convention, we approached the local video game expo, and we went, hey, we want to provide content for your event. What can you offer us?
How can we make that work?
Yeah.
Let's have a dialogue.
What sacrifice must I make
Yeah.
to make this possible? Finally, this is difficult too, because you assume that people from the beginning are going to be the same people who stick with it. And Valerno, I know you know this. How will changes in leadership be decided? So if someone decides at some point that they want to step down and they don't want to be part of the organization anymore, or they want a reduced role, or someone wants to get into a leadership position, how often are you revisiting that? That leads to broader conversations like, incorporation and writing bylaws and having an actual election process, et cetera, et cetera. It does get complicated. And again, this is where you can really run into hurt feelings. So when you're thinking about who are your community leaders and how are they bringing people together, you also need to be thinking about how is the organization future-proofed to last through these changes. Personal example, I mentioned earlier that I am in charge of a nonprofit. I am maybe the third or fourth president of that nonprofit, and it's because the first person who originally founded it just did not have the energy and the time. He had some personal stuff come up that meant he needed to step down, and there were a few changes in hands of leadership, and now that has landed in my pocket. But the process to get there was difficult. So I'm saying, at this point, you want to kind of think about what is the organization. It's bigger than me. It's something that I want to have longevity, and so therefore I need to think through sort of a changing of hands and what that looks like.
And I think later on we'll also have some slides talking about how we approached it and what our solutions were as well. Or am I wrong in that?
We can talk about it. I don't remember if there are slides, but
Great, we can talk about it
I'll
then.
just see it happen.
So the basic thing that we went with is early on, for the first couple of events, it just so happened I had lost my job in a layoff, and I said, hey, I can take on extra work for these first two events. It's fine, I don't mind it. All the contrary, it's giving me something to do and focus on to keep feeling productive. But I did it with the explicit condition of I'm doing it for this event. I am not going to sustain this level of work because one person running an event is not viable long term. So now that we're going for our third event, the first thing that I did is I turned to the other leaders and I went, I need staff. I need people to hand off hats and give them to people because I can't do this on my own. And we're onboarding a whole bunch of staff, and we were writing our bylaws for the organization. And one of the things we wrote in is, what's going to be our procedure when someone says, hey, I'm out. I don't have the time. Someone died. What are we going to do to fill that slot? And those are conversations that need to be had, because if suddenly the third leader disappears, now we have a problem.
The work still needs to get done.
The work still needs to get done, and one of the reasons we did 3 people is because there's never going to be a tie with 3 people. But if there's just 2 of us, there's always going to be a tie. So that needs to get resolved early. And that's a conversation we had of what are our preferences, what would we like to do, and that's all addressed in our bylaws.
Still just more of the prenup. Talk about it before it comes up.
Did we actually just make a presentation about how to start a business?
Roughly.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. I have a
Spoilers,
philosophy
that's what
degree.
this is, really.
Genuinely.
Yeah. All right. We did. You solved my incorporation puzzle. I think Deg made me keep this outreach or how to talk to people. Okay, you're a person and you live in a place and you're like, where are my other people? How do I talk to them? How do I approach them? I'm here to tell you networking is really not as scary as you think it is. I encourage everyone to get outside of your comfort zone, and if you're not a person who usually goes out and makes connections, honestly, these kinds of events are fantastic for that. Looking on, I don't know, maybe Reddit has like a list of Discord. Reddit has lots of things, but I'm sure that it has some useful regional information for you as well. If you just Google something like, anyone living out of Pittsburgh want to tell me like what state you're from? Sure. DC. So if you're in the DC area and you're like, hey, if I look up DC video game speedrunners, or you just go to the speedrun subreddit, again, I'm Reddit focused, but you could also probably just Google it, literally. Then you could look for folks who are in your area, who are, within a certain range, or, just geographically united, which is a lot of what we're talking about, just being in general proximity to folks. But talking to those people and saying, hey, would you be interested in getting together and doing X, Y, Z? I think you would both agree, and I think we talked about this during the meetup, that one of the things that leads to things happening is someone says, hey, this would be a great idea, and then making that happen. It always takes someone to go forward with the execution, and I think many people run into ideas that they have, but not so much the follow through, and that is magnetizing. If you are a person who has follow through, who is able to have integrity and actually commit to meeting up, commit to a Halo night, commit to a regular Tuesday D&D session, something like that. If you are that person and you can, it's really easy to flake out. If you don't flake out and you actually show up, then that's going to inspire other people to show up too.
One of the things that Doug told me constantly early on was, I want to match your energy. And it was one of those things of like, hey, I want to just all in on this. I'm willing to put in the first 2 events myself. And Doug went, I'm in.
We're doing it, yeah.
As the children say, bet.
Bet.
That's what they tell me.
It's easy to have ideas. It's hard to actually execute them. And a lot of times, once one person starts doing it, it just snowballs. Someone else goes, they're doing it, I'm going to join them. And next thing you know, you're giving a panel at GDQ.
So this is actually not the first attempt to organize speedrunners in Pittsburgh. For those of you that don't know, there are a ton of speedrunners in Pittsburgh. It is scary how much of a speedrun hotbed this city is. But they've all failed because they all go, I'm going to have a group and we're going to do speedruns and it's going to be cool. And then they make a Discord. And then they're sad that no one joined their Discord. They didn't go out, they didn't do the networking, they didn't start an event. A lot of the people who joined our server and applied to PGX were because they saw us at Techo when it was just the 3 of us bringing 1 volunteer in a day and putting on a show with 4 people.
And begging most of your friends to please submit.
And pulling a lot of favors to get those runners for that one-day event.
Yeah, I think it's a great time to, I'm sure many of us have friends who are in some kind of nerdy realm, whether it's gaming, whether it's D&D or other tabletop RPGs, or they're, I don't know, band nerds, or just something where you're like, okay, a little off the beaten path. It has nothing to do with sports, and in Pittsburgh, that's kind of challenging. You don't find a lot of people like that.
Theater kids.
Yeah, theater kids have
What
big volunteer energy.
Where would you ever find theater kids in
I don't.
speedrunning? Those don't exist.
Do we have any former theater kids? Any theater kids? Yeah,
Yep.
Look at you. Look at you. We got you. So talk to everyone. Talk to your friends. Talk to your friends who might be, I would call them normies. I have normie friends, and they're like, Stardew Valley is like the most exciting video game I've ever played. And I'm like, well, yes. But also,
I don't want to spoil anything too much, but I can reference a thing that happened actually earlier today at the international meetup where we had a very, very big coincidence happen of like people in the same region down to the same name. And that kind of stuff you don't learn about unless you talk to these people. So sometimes it just takes starting a conversation and going, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and then you run into someone wearing a Sangawa hoodie and you go, hey, let's start a speedrunning organization.
It's even just yesterday with the Mario Kart 64 4-player race. Amazing run, go watch it if you missed it. And they were talking about, oh, we're the Western PA meetup. Immediately after that run, I ran out to them and said, hi, you live here, join. And now we've got connections with the Mario Kart group. That ability, that willingness to go and just talk to people it cannot be stated how useful that is in the networking.
Yeah. Point number 2 here is actually really meaty because it makes me think of, so the second part of that is you never know who might be looking for a community. And I think that everyone has been relearning how to be a person and how to be a person around people over the last several years. And so many of our social structures have been broken down and have had to be reformed, and maybe we are different people than we were 5 or 6 years ago. And that means also maybe things are important to you now that weren't important to you before. And there could be other people searching for those like-minded individuals who are interested in something that you're like, hey, you know what, life is short and I am gonna take a chance, and I really actually do like speedrunning. I don't know, what do you speedrun? Pizza possum. Like, maybe there's something like that is interesting to people, but they just don't know how to have that connection. It takes one person going up with a QR code that worked last night, I swear to God.
It did.
And showing them that so that they can join the server, and that could then branch out and increase both their social realm, increase the value of the community, the quality of people. Like, it takes one person to make that kind of change. And Deg brought up a really, really good point earlier today, you're welcome, about how it's never been more important for us to build communities than it is right now, because we are absolutely going to have to lean on that. We have to lean on our friends, and we have to lean on the people who care about the same things that we do and find strength in that. So I really encourage you to take that chance. Again, stepping outside of your comfort zone, talking to people, initiating a conversation, because the worst thing that happens is they're just not interested. I mean, I guess that's not the worst thing that happens, but I'm not going to postulate
That's what
about
will tell you the worst thing is.
Yes, legally, that's the worst thing that will happen.
This is not legal advice. Ignore them.
Thank you.
And
This is legally distinct, legal advice.
If there's one takeaway that I want you all to take from this panel, if you don't even do a marathon or organize any of that, it's find that community that is in your local area, connect with people that will support you, because that's the important part of what we're doing. That's our focus, is we just want to be together with people that like being together and aren't going to ruin the world for each other.
You do not have to organize 3 marathons in 1 year. Do not do that. I do not advise you do that. But
That is legal advice.
That is.
What I do, however, recommend is one of the things that we brought up in the Steel City Speedsters meetup earlier today was, hey, let's all go play pinball.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a big fancy event. Let's just do a thing as a group.
Yeah. And that's how it starts. I mean, technically that's not how it starts, but it could be how it starts for you, where you just go out and you say, hey, like, go to a place you enjoy. Find a coffee shop. I love a coffee shop. And if I see someone there and they've got like a game on their computer, for some reason they're playing a video game at a coffee shop, whatever, go up to them. Like, hey, I love Dark Souls. I guess. Or something, just something. Start a conversation.
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley. Imagine Stardew Valley.
Imagine.
So
Side note, the Stardew Valley community goes hard.
we do. There's a lot of dedicated folks out here. If you've never heard the concept of an elevator pitch, it's basically just a really short way to sell yourself in like 30 seconds. So the idea is that I would say more the SGDQ elevators, because these have actually been pretty responsive. If you could take a ride from like the lobby to like the 18th floor of the SGDQ elevators, if any of you have been, could you tell someone about your organization in that time? So the Steel City Speedsters, we're just a group of speedrunning enthusiasts in Western PA. You can come up with a little blurb for yourself, but the way that you can sort of leverage the existing contacts you have without meeting a single new person is just to think about what you want to have, think about the community that you want to build, and then talk to a friend you've had since high school and that you're palling around with and just say, hey, I was thinking about this thing. Here is my suggestion for maybe getting to know people in the DC area, in the Raleigh area, wherever people live,
Everywhere people live.
Butte,
Untrue.
Montana.
There's a lot of places in Australia where that is not a thing.
Okay,
That is
fair.
true. So think about how can you sort of organize those thoughts in a concise manner, because it's a sales tactic as well. You're getting business and sales training today, but you can
Also, be willing to hustle, because the amount of people we've shown QR codes this event is impressive.
Yeah, have that ready. If you want to make business cards, there you can literally just get like print them out at a library or something. Print out a bunch of squares, paste them to some poster board and say, here's my QR code or here's my information. It doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to have a huge budget for it. Just have something that you can pull up on your phone and say, hey, this is us. This is what I'd like to do. Do you want to join my Discord server? And they can leave. You can just leave. Like that's an option for you too.
Oh, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who have joined the server and immediately hit mute.
I do that in literally every Discord server, even ones I start. Like, I do not. I'm just one person. So ask yourself why people should work with you and then communicate that. Be honest with people. Be real about, again, what your strengths are, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, because that is going to carry you so much further than trying to make an event or a community for something that has nothing to do with what your true interests are.
You have to be willing to sell yourself, but you have to do it honestly.
Sell yourself honestly.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that.
Well, you can have that one for free.
Thank you.
Should have sold it, darn.
Well, you would have done so honestly. So when it comes to building a community, there's a lot of things to think about here, especially in terms of composition. Who is your target demographic? Whom do you want to be in this community? Is it everyone? Is it adults over the age of 21? Is it parents with kids? Is it just Mario Kart speedrunners? I don't know. There's tons of different demographics that you can target here. You can cast a broad net. You can make it as esoteric or as open and inclusive as you like. And besides actual geographical proximity, is there any other uniting factor, like a sub-community, that might bring your group together? I know you had brought this up as an idea, or I think one of you had brought this up as an idea when we were going over this, if there's any like sub-communities that, I don't know, like maybe speedrunning, but then you also speedrun rhythm games or something like that, or you're also a rhythm game enthusiast. Do you have a subgroup that would bring those people together as well?
Randomizers.
Randomizer.com.
Randomizers are the easy answer to that. There's so many people that do randomizers in the speedrunning community.
Archipelagos.
Start an archipelago. Find people in your area. If you don't know what an archipelago is, look it up. It's fine. No,
Look it up and do it.
play a bunch of different games with a bunch of different people and send them your items, and then ask your nephew why he's never played Inscription before, that he signed up for Inscription on Archipelago. Kyle, it's fine. He's 20. He'll get over it. What does your community have in common with other groups? Do you have AGDQ in common? Do you have Steel City Speedsters in common? And if, do you all go to the same dentist? Like, you might. What sets that apart from another organization? Like, what makes that special? What draws people to it? What makes them want to join it? Is it you? Are you magnetic? Is it your ideas? Like, what is the thing that will bring people together? It really helps if you're likable. So I will offer that caveat. Maybe be like an open, approachable person. That is helpful. If you're not, find a likable person. Find someone that people will gravitate towards, and then that'll make it a lot easier to bring people in. I'm really charming. I just want you to know that.
I do not accept all these compliments. I do not think they're deserved.
And I think this last one is really important as well. What is expected of community members when they join? Do you want them to be, if they don't show up to a meetup every month, are they out? Do you have some other, like, I don't know, like, do you have to participate in community races if you're doing randomizers, stuff like that? Are you doing any kind of auditing to make sure that you're keeping people who are active in the community? What is the process for being an active community member? And really, what are their expectations? If it's chill and it's casual and they can just linger in the server for 4 or 5 years, like, that's fine. But if you're looking to actively do things, it's like, for those of you, do people still play World of Warcraft?
Yes.
Do they? Okay. So like if you were in a WoW guild, or if you were like doing Destiny 2 raids or something like that, and you weren't up to date on the latest equipment, do you get kicked from the raid group? Probably. But also, like, manage your expectations and see what you can actually expect of other people, and try to approach that with kindness and see what is the actual purpose of why I'm bringing people together.
I think of note, the low-hanging fruit is most people here are interested in this because of some element of speedrunning. And there has to be an amount of, you need to understand the expectations are, they're going to be a part of the community in the capacity they can and want to. They might join and say, I want to be staff. They might join and say, hey, I'll submit a speed run every other event. And they might join the Discord and then never type in it again. Is that okay with you? And for most of us, the answer to that is going to be yes. Like, if someone joins our Discord and says, this is cool, reads it, maybe keeps us in mind and watches our Twitch for a day, I call that a win.
Yep.
I don't put pressure and obligation on, you must be active and submit 5 speed runs a year. You're gonna get nowhere fast on that.
But you might also be interested in a more competitive community, or one that is a little bit more fast-paced, so to speak, or that has a lot more demanding, stringent expectations. And that's fine. I think that if that is something that you're interested in, it goes to my earlier point about
know your target audience.
Know your target audience and know what you're interested in. Know what you're passionate about, because that honesty is going to show through so much more when it comes to making friends with people than it is to fake it. People pick up on it.
This really could be easily changed into like a business pitch deck kind of deal for that kind of event.
Listen, I'll be here all week.
Yeah. You got to manage expectations both internally and with the community members, because what you expect of your community members, I mean, that's your expectation. So not everybody has the same level buy-in, and being able to convey that information up front because you've decided it will let people know what they're getting into at the beginning.
Also, kind of in key with an earlier point, if there's more than just one person leading this effort, are you all on the same page? Because if one of you just wants to have a local meetup and do like a one-day marathon once a year, but the other person wants to be the next GDQ and wants to make $1 million off of it, you're probably off to a rocky start.
Can I get a show of hands in the audience? Have any of you ever made plans that you then later did not want to do? I'm like, I better see all of you. That is the same kind of approach to the ebb and flow of commitment to these kinds of groups that you should consider, because all of us have bitten off more than we can chew and have signed up to do one event, and then we end up doing 2 events for, production lead. So really try to extend that to folks when they're joining as well, and when you're pitching to people, just like, yeah, we can keep it as casual or as serious as you want, but over time, this is what I want this group to look like. How do you make it happen? We talked about ideas, and now we're going to talk about execution. I did almost call this slide execution, and I was like, this is a little morbid, but you get what I'm saying. What type of community do you want to foster? What is the medium for your community? Is it online? Is it in person? Is it going to be some mix of both? We have a pretty healthy mix of both. Like, considering 3 events in a year, like that's pretty substantial.
And we kind of approached that with the hybrid both approach on multiple fronts, because we wanted a local community for us to have, pinball meetups and just let's go hang out at someone's house and play video games kind of deal. But we also wanted it to be, hey, we've got friends in Ohio who want to be a part of this, and will drive down for events and stay in Pittsburgh for TECO to be volunteer for us. They're not local. Are they still welcome in the event? For us, the answer to that was yes. They were willing to put in the effort and show up. And that's more than good enough for us. And then we went, well, we're going to do in-person events, but we're realistically not going to be able to fill a schedule with what we have for in-person. So we had a choice. Do we fill with remote people, or do we just trim down the event? And we made the decision of, for us, it was more worth it to, if we're going to build a community, we're not going to start on the foot of let's exclude people. So if people want to join the community and they say, hey, I'm down to be a part of this, even if it's just for the online aspects, then great, welcome in. And that's how we ended up with a Canadian speedrunner event and a Japanese speedrunner at an event. Because they said, hey, I'm down to do this, even if it's just once a year for an online event. And that's good enough for us. Welcome to the crew. You are now an honorary Yinzer.
Yep. And then, ooh, pardon me.
I was going to say, we know that we have friends in Ohio, and we love you, and we know it's not your fault.
I'm a little worried sometimes that they actually exist, because we all know Ohio isn't real.
Oh my God.
If you haven't seen the stickers, they are amazing.
I gotta go. So like Alara was, sorry, Dave, you had a point?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
My goodness.
Get used to it. Kind of flows into the next point, but once you decide if you're doing an online focus, in-person focus, or both, and have that determined, going into what are the things your community will do together, how are you going to approach actually getting those people together online or in person or both? A lot of the conversation that we had with deciding to do the sort of hybrid, both online and in person, was that's going to be a lot of additional work for us. Are we willing to take it on? These are things to consider whenever you're determining what type of community you want to have. What work is that going to require on your part as well?
I cannot stress enough, we've put so many hours into this project.
When it comes to recruiting new members, I am going to caution you to please come up with a growth strategy early and have a vision for what you want your community to be, because as I have mentioned, the nonprofit that I run is basically a college reunion, and it is a closed group, and we have waffled so much on the conversation of, do we want to grow it, or do we want to keep the same people that we have had? In 99% of cases, I think you're going to see something like where we want to grow it. We want to get as many people as we can in the area, because that keeps things interesting. It builds a community. It truly does what you're setting out to do. But it is important for you to go out there with a vision and with an idea of what you want that to look like in the future. So think about, how are you recruiting new people? Are you making a conscious effort at each event that you attend to go out and say, hey, this is a thing that I do? Once you've got a little bit more ground under your feet and you have a little bit more of an established organization, then are you selling it? Are you really going out there and pushing it to people and saying, I see that you're here, I see that you're interested in maybe the same thing, maybe this is something you would like to do, and figure out if there is a person who is better at talking to strangers than you are, or who feels more comfortable with it. Maybe those are the people that you say, hey, if you'd like to be in charge of this kind of outreach program, or however you want to do recruitment, then you can start delegating that. You can make that happen with the people who are more comfortable with it.
I'm proof positive that you don't have to be an extrovert to do this kind of recruiting. You can be an introvert like me and still just put the effort in.
It's true. And then you can consider some of the sort of logistical questions, like what's your primary form of communication? Do you have a mailing list? Do you have a Discord server? Do you have a Telegram chat? Are you, I don't know, text messaging like people do? Do we? I don't know. It's fine.
Social media in general.
Social media is a really good idea.
We should do that at some point.
Can you imagine making a post about this panel?
I
Can you
can't.
imagine?
Can you?
No, I sure can't. And then another really important thing is, how are you going to receive and handle feedback? When you get more than one person together, you are inevitably going to run into a clash of personalities. No matter how much you like each other, you're always going to find something that is going to clash. So when something goes wrong, or when something needs to change for the better, or when something, just people find a way to improve things, how are you going to field that feedback? And who is going to do that? So who is your person who's going to take that survey information that you put out after the first event and then aggregate it and then make it digestible for people to actually take, and then who's going to act upon it? So all of that is really important. That's, again, just another part of the follow through to take it from an idea to execution.
On a side note from that, assume you're going to get negative feedback, because everyone likes to give a negative opinion when they're anonymous. And the worst part is, they're your best friends because they're telling you what you're doing wrong. Even if all they're telling you is this is how they felt and how they perceived it, that's still someone perceiving it that way. That means that your message is coming across that way. Maybe it's not your intent, maybe it's not what you tried to do, but it is what happened. So they are telling you what you need to fix. And if you just sit there and say, I have the perfect organization and I have done nothing wrong, then congratulations on your stagnant organization that will never get better.
I cannot tell you how bad I am at taking feedback. I'm really, really bad at taking feedback. So you need to be better than me. That is your takeaway for the night. Be better than Threech at taking feedback.
Yeah,
it's not hard.
Negative feedback is not really negative as long as you use it constructively.
Yeah. Because you can always, all of us can be better. Every single one of us can be a better person in some way. We can make a better space for other people to exist around us. So, I know we are, wow, I've been yapping.
Time to speedrun.
It's exciting. So I know we've talked a lot about community building. A lot of this stuff just kind of tie together. And when it comes to running your first event, we're going to go through some of the logistical concerns. So we just want to introduce you to these questions that you might not have asked yourself. So you have a community, you have the enthusiasm and the participation, you have people who want to do something. How do you do it? Figure out what kind of event you actually want to run. Do you want it to be a fundraiser for the group? Do you want it to be a charity event where you're raising money elsewhere? Do you want it to be a showcase where you just get together and you have a bunch of people playing the same game? You want to have a LAN party, like I said earlier, you could do any of that. How long will it be? We started off pretty small.
Yeah. We started off just a handful of us. Like I said, I was pulling favors to get some missions for our first event.
Was it 8 hours for the first day?
8 hours for the first day.
Yep.
We did 8 hours. And it's grown from there. And I will say, another thing to keep in mind is when you're setting these expectations on what you want to run, don't try everything at once. Like, I took on the title of production lead for this organization, but on top of that, I am also former host staff for Preventathon, former interstitials lead for Preventathon, tech staff for Lady Arcaders. The list is long. I have been doing this in a lot of places for a long time, and that's just in speedrunning spaces. We can go into my theater resume from there. This is not my first rodeo, and if you don't know what you're doing, don't try to take it on all at once. volunteer at other organizations and learn what needs to get done first.
Yeah, and keep it small, keep it manageable. I mean, anyone can stream, anyone can put together a restream. If you Google it, find resources that tell you how to do that. You don't need to have a massive production thing, and especially, I mean, considering the logistical concerns have been because we've done in-person events, that is an entirely different bear than trying to just do an
Correct.
online event.
Scale it to what you can. If what you have is 3 people and you just want to stream because the 3 of you are friends, congratulations on starting your 3-person stream. That's totally fine and that's awesome. Scale it to what you can do.
Yeah, do a co-op stream. Like, just go over to someone's house and do a co-op stream. You can do that.
I mean, I'll keep repeating it. You have to manage your expectations.
Yeah.
There's nothing more motivating than doing something that is a success, and you're setting yourself up for success if you keep it to a manageable level.
On a kind of similar note, going through this, nothing there has to cost money. We partner with other organizations to house us for the in-person events. Broadcasting software is free. OBS is free. Angus is free for organizing submissions. There's so many things you can do without pouring a penny. I'm a little extra and I went a little overboard. Don't be me.
This should really just be building a community, a cautionary tale about Alara and her responsibilities. So think about who is going to be invited to submit games if you're doing a marathon. So who in the community is going to be allowed? Is it an open call? Is it going to be reaching out to other friends? Are you reaching out to other communities? Are you just keeping it sort of insular? Are you going to make it a fundraiser? And if so, how are you going to capture those donations and how are you going to track them, etc.? There's all sorts of that could be a presentation on itself. It's just how to run a charity event, how to run a fundraiser. But we do advise, making a schedule, making sure that you get all of the details of like when is something opening, when is something closing, and that is going to help you manage expectations across the board so that you're not crunching deadlines. Because no one likes deadlines. Some people are motivated by them, but the crunch does not feel good, and you don't want to be scrambling at the last minute if at all possible. Logistically, wow, we wrote out a lot of bullet points.
We did.
I wrote out a lot of bullet points.
You did.
Sorry. Do you have any connections with a good location? Like I mentioned earlier, do you have a local game shop who might be willing to host you? Who is supplying your technology? This is a really big question, and we are so fortunate. Good Lord, we are so fortunate that Stump exists.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Stump.
Thank you, Stump.
Where's the camera? Thanks, buddy. Who is supplying your technology? Where is it going to be stored between events? Who is running the event? Like, who is your production lead and who's going to be making authoritative decisions and final decisions that are related to the event? How often are you going to meet ahead of time to make sure that those details are nailed out and that everyone has clear expectations about what their responsibilities are? How will you handle safety concerns for attendees? This is part of growth. It's part of the growth conversation. It's something that you do need to consider. But ultimately, we want to make sure you're just thinking outside the box. Go like your LGS to a local arcade. We're lucky to have a lot of connections in the Pittsburgh area. Find a small business, or if you have a game dev, like we have Mega Cat Studios here, and a bunch of other places in the area that would be maybe willing to sponsor an event, provide monitors if that's it. So you can keep it reasonable. Don't ask for too much, but do ask. Like, don't be afraid to share what your dreams are because they could really want to make something like that happen. It's usually good publicity for them, and often they just have stuff that they would be willing to lend or donate for some kind of marathon.
Our second event happened just because I went up to one of the owners of Pittsburgh Gaming Expo and I went, hey, we want to do a thing. And he said, show me your pitch deck. And then a little bit later, at TechO, he saw us on the stage and he went, oh, you're serious? You're actually doing this. 100% let's talk. And lo and behold, we paid with sponsors for one booth. They gave us 3 booths worth of space because they saw that we're taking this seriously. So there's an amount of, again, someone actually having momentum and trying to do something attracts that same kind of I want to match your energy. People want to jump on that bandwagon of positivity and yes, let's go, let's go, let's go.
And thinking outside the box and finding a way to make that first thing happen. We kind of really contorted ourselves to make TechO happen. and then it all flowed from there. I mean,
The first event is the hardest.
the first event is the hardest, and even, I mean, we look at GDQ's history that started in a basement.
It started in a basement after failing in person because the hotel Wi-Fi was terrible.
Yeah.
So even GDQ had massive hurdles for their first event.
Yeah. Have you all heard of GDQ? Are you all familiar with this?
You should go attend. They've got some speedrunning stuff going on in the city. It's kind of cool.
I hope
pretty-
it comes
it's
to
pretty good.
Pittsburgh. Wouldn't that be fun? All right. I don't know how, but we've reached the end of the presentation. So we'd like to, thank you. We'd like to field any questions if y'all have some for Steel City Speedsters or just in general, some maybe thoughts on your mind.
Well, this is about to be really easy if not.
Hey, I'm cool.
Yeah.
It's also
Oh, there we go. We've got one. We've got two.
Have you had a chance to talk with your local esports?
Have we had a chance to talk to our local esports?
Not really.
Not a ton. We have, in some capacity, some people approached us during Pittsburgh Gaming Expo.
yes.
We had
I would like to talk.
great.
Wonderful.
Hi. You are definitely not the person I spoke to last time, but I am more than happy to chat with you. Come after we finish this.
You should look forward to the next slide if I remember what it is.
My goodness. Yes. We'll get through the Q&A and then we will go on to the last section. I don't know how much time we have in here, but we can probably wing it. We did actually, so Pittsburgh, again, is pretty fortunate to have a decent number of connections, and Carnegie Mellon has a pretty strong game development program. So we actually were speaking with some of the game dev majors at Carnegie Mellon, and they had, I don't think, we didn't end up going to it. We were thinking about sending a representative to it, but they have sort of like a hack day kind of, play the game and tell us what you think. So they had some booths there. So we just walked around at Pittsburgh Gaming Expo and sort of collected business cards and joined Discord servers and all, just making those kinds of connections with folks. So local esports, not yet, but
Fixable.
yes,
It's
fixable.
also one of those managing expectation things. It wasn't a thing that we were looking at yet. We
Yeah.
were focusing on just the speedrun stuff. Well, hey, look,
We
an
were-
opportunity just appeared.
Yes.
Wow, well-
Sometimes you set up a panel to talk about your organization in a thinly veiled attempt, pretending that you're talking about something else, and you meet the local esports people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I saw Chuck raise
Hello.
a hand.
How do you know, makes me think of how best to phrase this. Aside from the fact that they're giving you money, what are some things that you look at as far as sponsorships where it's like, you know what, you might be trying to give us money, but maybe we'll shy away. How do you discern against certain sponsors?
So
when
how-
you're choosing them?
So how do you discern from certain sponsors when they're just trying to give you money? The answer to that is we are yet to take any money from anyone, and we've had sponsors. And the way we did that was, for example, again, PGX. We spoke to the owners of PGX. They quoted us for a table, and there was an approach to two local game stores, and each one said, "Yeah, we're willing to put down the money for half of that." The little bit of a behind the scenes of what happened there is. I was talking to the owners of PGX, and each one of those halves of the booth, PGX just turned around and turned it into a donation to the charity we were raising money for. So our table sponsorship money just became sponsor donations directly to the charity.
Which ruled. That was great.
Yes, but the original intent behind that sponsorship was don't give me money, give me a space,
And
which
that-
way they were very happy to provide.
which was very particular to our circumstance. As far as in general, vibes,
Yes. A lot of it is vibe checking. Some of it is also just, understanding. Like, we had some people offer at PGX, hey, we see you're raising money for charity. Can I give you a painting to raffle off? We had to be a little bit careful on that one because it involves, giving us money and we are handing you a thing, so we couldn't do it exactly as a raffle.
like in value type stuff, which if you're dealing with charities and donations and things, you might want to watch the tax panel that happened earlier, because
Yeah.
that will be a thing that will come up.
And make sure you're having conversations with the fundraising members of the charity. I guarantee you they have dealt with something like this before. Be very careful about stuff like like raffles, like accepting money. If you are working with a charitable organization, it's always best to check with them, because the best case scenario, hey, it's no problem. Worst case scenario is like just stuff you don't want to get tied up in. So try to do everything on the up and up. Don't try to skirt, by calling it a game of chance instead of a gamble or whatever. But
Another thing to take a note off on that kind of stuff is also keep in mind, again, don't just focus on the money aspects. Sometimes you can do the asks. It doesn't have to be they approach you. I know at least one dance studio in town that will not give out cash sponsorships, but they will 100% give out gift cards to their event. And it sounds silly. What is a speedrun organization going to do with free dance lessons? But suddenly it can become a community activity. Suddenly it can become a, door welcome things. Maybe you're holding a tournament.
dance tournament. I was like, don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Weird amount of crossover with a lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can definitely spin up if
Get creative and use every resource at your disposal, because
Yeah.
sometimes sponsorships aren't money.
think outside the box.
Yeah.
Kind of a three-fold question. How large is your group at an hour right now? Like somebody said, like 50 or some members right now.
125 in the Discord since last AGDQ, and it started with these two, which is really exciting. I think we've gained 40 or 50 since
We've gained
so
like
many.
Here.
we've gained like 30 or 40 people this event.
this week, which is really cool.
Take
Other organizations where
Okay.
how to manage more people as you lose communications with individuals, or the fact that when you have new members come in, they may not get the full orientation of like what is this organization about. They have different expectations. So it's more of how do you manage your members as the community grows.
So how do you manage your members as the community grows? Again, it kind of goes back to that 30-second pitch deck. Every time I'm going to show it to someone, I show someone the invite. It's, hey, I have a thing. We're a bunch of local speedrunners. Would you like to join? Here's a link to our Discord. And it starts with just that. And then when you start going into the expectations of beyond just we have a community, now you're starting to look into we have an event. And it's, hey, we want volunteers and we want speedrunners. These are the expectations for the speedrunners. These are the expectations for the volunteers. And I can point to our in-person events. For Techo, we told people straight up from the beginning, I can't promise you badges. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that everyone I can provide a badge for, I will. But at the end of the day, if not having a badge comped for you is going to stop you from attending, I can't guarantee you a badge. And I ask people in our submissions, is this a non-starter for you?
And it's an important thing to establish that communication early so that, again, everybody knows what they're getting into and can match the energy.
And it kind of becomes a juggling game, because anyone who told me, hey, I can only do this if the badge is fully comped, great. Now I know to prioritize you because you need that financial assistance to attend. But it also means you're the first person being cut if I run out of badges.
Yeah. And I think also maybe to the point of how do you keep track of what's going on? How do you herd the cats? We've gotten to the point where there are more staff positions, there are volunteer leads, there are things like that in the very similar way to the way that GDQ has full-time staff, and then they have leads within departments. Because eventually one person can't be the point person for every single thing. So we need to start delegating, start letting other people take over projects and take over communications and things like that. Because I really feel like, Alara, at this point, if we asked you, like, hey, can you do all the social media posts? Like, you just don't have the bandwidth for something like that.
I feel like I'd get punched maybe if I asked that.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
And also look at the tools that are available. We have our Discord server. There's a rules channel on the Discord server. There, we've got our rules out. We have our harassment policy set up there so that everybody knows what we expect of them behavior-wise. There are all these different tools that can also be utilized to manage your members. It doesn't have to be Discord. Look at what your options are and pick the one that works best for what you're trying to do.
Any other questions? No, we're good.
Good. All right, so I know we are over time, and I appreciate everyone's patience, so thanks for hanging in there with us. We also wanted to just open it up. If anyone wants to do a little bit of networking, we'll come down from the panel. If anyone wants to talk one-on-one with us, looking at you, esports. But also, if you've got folks in the area, or folks are welcome to share where they're from or what they're interested in, etc. Also, I really would encourage everyone, if you want to join the Steel City Speedsters Discord, we had intended for this to be sort of a springboard for having further conversations and finding other local people. So if you are interested, you're welcome to join. There's no obligation or anything, and you don't have to be a local Pittsburgh, a Yinzer, or anything like that. But we'd love to have you, and we'd love to hear your ideas, and we'd just love to have you around. Feel free to join in for submit a game for a future marathon.
Also, on a side note, even if you're not local to this area, maybe still hang out, because sure, some of you are going to come and approach because, oh, hey, I'm local, I want to get involved. But there's a good chance there's someone who lives 3 neighborhoods away sitting right next to you outside of Pittsburgh. And all it's going to take is going, oh, you're interested in starting a local thing. I'm willing to bet everyone sitting here is interested in having some sort of local community in their area, even if it's not in Pittsburgh. This might be the eureka moment if you realize, oh, wait, you also live in this middle of nowhere town in North Dakota.
Somewhere. Yeah, the 2 things I would add. 1, networking doesn't have to be personally beneficial. If it's, hey, I know someone that can help you, let me get them in touch, that's networking. Those 2 people are going to do a thing and remember that you helped. And I forgot the second point I was going to make, so.
I'm sure it was a good one.
Oh, probably was.
Yeah.
All right, I think it's enough yapping from all of us. We've already gone over.
No, I could yap all day. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you so much.